Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. We're back. Today, we're talking about The Breakfast Club. So, grab your doobage, steal a screw, have a seat, and write a 1,000-word essay because Old Roommates is back.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. We're back. We're back.
Yay!
After a 3-week
hiatus
break, Brian and I took a few weeks off. We are fully refreshed and ready to start the fall, the school season with this revisit of The Breakfast Club. And we have a special guest with us today.
Yeah. Well, so I don't get to introduce myself, Christina? Are we
I'm gonna mention first our special guest.
My God. All right.
I guess things have not changed. Things have not changed.
I think you needed more refreshing time, quite frankly.
Refresh this. We have a special guest here today. A dear friend from many, many years ago. Many, many years ago. Naomi. Should we say your last name, or you want
Nope, you can say my last name.
Bushnack is here. She has been welcome. She has been wanting to be on our podcast to discuss this movie in particular, The Breakfast Club.
I want to quickly add, she had an interesting tactic to being a guest because Naomi has nothing to plug.
Right.
Naomi does not have a podcast. She has no book coming out or anything like that. She is truly a friend of the pod. She had an interesting tactic to being a guest by threatening to end our friendship.
I did.
Yes,
that is correct.
If we didn't have her on to discuss this movie. So Naomi, please.
So a quick 2.5 years later.
Exactly.
Oh wait, 3 years
later.
That's why 3 years later. Because that's why we've been waiting. We've been waiting to do this because this is one of our most requested revisits. Mm-hmm. And so that's how long it took us to coordinate Naomi's appearance or vocal appearance on this show. So Naomi, introduce yourself, talk about yourself for about a minute, and tell the listeners.
First of all, do I look okay?
Well,
I was expecting hair and makeup, and I did not get that this morning. So I'm a little
We'll have the listeners
disappointed.
Send us an email to let us know how you look.
We'll take a picture of you and put it on Patreon, and we'll let the Patreoners decide
how
well,
for the shirt alone. She's wearing an amazing shirt.
She's wearing a Breakfast Club shirt.
Breakfast Club shirt.
What does it say, Naomi?
It says, "We're all pretty bizarre. Some of us just better at hiding it."
Are just better at hiding it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm reading upside down. I'm reading upside down. I couldn't see it.
And your boobs are in the
But
way.
it has.
Let's be frank.
But it has all the characters on the shirt.
Yeah.
As
it's
they're
great.
sitting,
it's a great shirt.
pondering.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I asked if you had bought the shirt specifically for the show, and you're like, nope, it's Mallory's, her daughter's.
Yes, it's my daughter's shirt. Because I do love this movie so much, and it's been such a part of my life since I saw it, that all of my children have seen it with me.
Wow.
And I've had them experience it. Yeah. And now they know anytime I say, this ain't no rest home, when they're sleeping on the couch for too long, they know where it comes from.
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
And a little bit of history for us. Naomi and I went to junior high and high school and college together, and we worked together. And then Christina and the three of us worked together at Jordan's, and we've been besties ever since.
Yes,
we
sure
spend
have.
every New Year's Eve
together
at Naomi's house.
And every summer we used to go camping a lot. In fact, the camping story that's on Patreon, Naomi was involved in.
Yeah.
So if you listened to that bonus content, Naomi was involved in that. But yeah, we've done camping trips and fall trips, and
so
very,
what you're
very,
saying
very
is
good friend.
You guys really have to thank me for most of the joy that has come in. And in fact, maybe for this podcast too.
Oh, let's not go crazy.
Well, we have mentioned you several times in the podcast.
I know you
probably remember.
You might be the glue that holds us all together, because you do. You host a lot. You're the hostess with the mostest.
Excellent.
I want to know, what does this movie mean? What is, without giving too many, like, say, plot points or anything like that, but generally speaking, what does this movie mean to you?
So, well, for me, and I know this, like, is the same for you, Brian. Us growing up, we had similar experiences growing up, and we both grew up in Brockton, and we both had, you know, our home life was sometimes a little bit...
Of a hellscape?
Yeah, there you go. And so movies...
Shaky.
Yes, shaky. So movies were always like the joy. And to like be able to see a movie. And for me, I always loved sort of like coming of age movies. I always thought that was like, you know, I guess I saw myself a lot in those different characters and learning and, you know, developing who you are and stuff. So I think for me, when I saw The Breakfast Club, I was like, oh my God, I could sort of like relate in some way to like each of the characters, or just have known somebody that was like that in my life. So I think for me that was really important, you know, like just the growing up part of it, and really just the characters were so relatable to me.
Nice. And we begin as we always do, Naomi, there's a great lead in. So let's talk about the first time we have ever seen The Breakfast Club. Christina, we'll start with you.
Okay, yes. Thank you so much, Brian.
Oh my God. As long as I'm not being sarcastic.
This movie, okay, there's something about this movie that brings out, I feel like it brings out almost like a desire to talk about yourself and confess things. So, and I remember this first movie, I was with my boyfriend at the time. We had been together for, I think, I don't know, a while, maybe 6 months or so. And I remember seeing this movie with him, I believe it was at the drive-ins.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So bizarre. Either that or we drove somewhere, because what I remember most about this movie is we were in the car and we were just talking.
Sure.
And all of a sudden he had stop it. We were in the front seat.
Oh.
All of a sudden he had this desire to confess something to me, and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Like, I was like, how old?
Well, it was 1985.
This or something like that.
This is 1985, and I do want to just preface this. So this was February 15th, 1985. So maybe it was a holdover, and they showed it in the summer.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Probably double feature.
We were in the car having a conversation.
Yeah.
So anyway,
were the jeans balled up in the back seat?
Wow.
No, that's from the movie, by the way.
We are aware, Naomi.
But what did he confess?
So yes, thank you for finally asking. So he had confessed that he had this girlfriend, and he was saying that it was his that he had not had sex before.
Oh.
And I don't think we had sex at this point, and maybe we did. I don't remember now. But I remember it being like this girl was his first. Oh no, wait. Oh my God, now I completely forget. He was saying that he was a virgin. And then when we were having this conversation, he's like, I have to tell you, like, I actually did have sex with this woman. And it wasn't that big of a deal because it was way before I knew him or whatever. But this movie brought out this confession to him, and I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, like, that's fine. Thank you for telling me.
Kind of a buzzkill on a date.
But it was a little bit. But it was a weird, like, it meant way more to him than it did to me.
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was so interesting that he felt that need to confess this deep, dark secret. Like, it must have been weighing on him or something.
Yeah.
And it didn't really matter that much to me. But that is one of my biggest memories of this movie. I'm like, wow, it like had like this magical power to make people confess.
So he didn't confess this like during the movie. He confessed.
No,
this,
it was
like,
after the fact. It was after the fact.
All
yeah,
right.
it was
All
like
right.
we were having like
the movie.
Just like kind of a nice conversation, and it was probably one of our first like kind of heartfelt conversations. I guess I don't know what I confessed. I don't think I confessed anything. Yeah. Not that I had anything to ever confess.
What I like most about the story is that even though we had a girlfriend, it, quote, didn't matter to you. That's nice.
No, no, it didn't matter to me if he had sex with her or not, because that was in the past.
Oh, I
see.
See.
It was in the past. It wasn't
So what
during our relationship.
What about the movie? What about the movie? Just answer the question, Christina.
Answer the
question.
No, I never saw the movie. No, okay. So obviously I saw the movie, and I really liked this movie. I really liked this movie. I loved Allison, the quote basket case. She was my favorite character. I would quote her all over the place.
Yeah.
I loved Bender. I thought he was fantastic. He was someone I would absolutely have dated in high school, no question at all. I really liked the conversations they had. I will say the one thing I didn't love about the movie back then was the makeover scene. And we can talk about that a little later, too.
That's interesting. Yeah, okay.
But aside from that, I thought it was great, fun, awesome. I've seen it many, many, many times since. Very much coming of age. And like you say, you relate to everybody in some way or another. You either relate to them because they're a part of you, or they feel the same way you do, or you know someone like that.
I just think it resonates now, too. Well, I guess we can talk about that after, but yeah, I think...
Keep in the format.
Okay,
Naomi.
sorry.
Keep in the format. I'm just kidding. But yes, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Brian, what about you?
Thank you. The first time I saw this movie, it was on VHS. And yeah, I definitely didn't see it in the movie theater. Maybe it was on HBO. But I remember being very affected by the characters. Like, Judd Nelson, Bender, totally scared me. Because, like, this, like, rough headbanger, because you don't, typically in high school, you don't get these one-on-one chats with all these different kinds of personalities.
Right. I think that's why they made the movie the way they did.
It was interesting. And so, but I thought, like, to watch him and his aggression and drama. And then I remember for me, it was when they're all sitting in that, like, sort of stairway, and they're talking about, like, him taping someone's buns together and the lipstick thing.
Because when they were smoking, right?
After smoking.
It was after smoking.
And it was that moment where I'm like, oh. And I was like, oh, these are, like, actors. Like, I felt that was the scene where they're all and I was, like, really into acting in movies then, and so it was like, I'm like, oh, this is, like, really, really good. I remember really loving it. Sort of, like, no questions asked in a way. The only thing I didn't like was when it was gross. Like, the catching the spit, the dandruff, even throwing the meat on the statue, or, like, the head in the panties, and, like, Molly Ringwald's panties. It's like, that was when it, like, that stuff, because usually it was Bender, right, behind most of those, except for the dandruff and the meat. But, like, that was when it was like, I just wish it wasn't gross. But, true to the characters, I guess. But I did love it.
Teenagers in general are gross.
Yeah, but I did love it then. Naomi,
is there a reason why you didn't see it in the movies? Was it something that you just didn't really want to see?
Well, I'm a little younger than you, Christina, and I wouldn't have been let in.
Was it R? Oh, it was R.
It is,
yeah. In 85, I was 13 years old. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and I... but I'm trying to think. It has been HBO or VHS.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Your first time?
I did see it in the movies. So we had a movie theater in Brockton, the General Cinema.
Just really quick for the unfamiliar, because we have people listening all over the world.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Bahamas?
Brockton is in South Shore, Massachusetts. In South Shore, Massachusetts. Continue.
You have never said where you from?
No, but people don't listen to every single episode. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes. So there was the cinema was the place to be. And, of course, I believe, like, 16 Candles came out before this, like a year or two before. And I loved 16 Candles. And that's kind of what, like, tuned me into John Hughes. And I'm like, oh, I love this. And so when the movie came out, I had a family friend that was a few years older, but she looked older. Like, she looked like she was of age. And she brought me to the movie, and unbeknownst to my father, and when he found out, he was very upset that I went to see this rated R movie, which... When I was watching it, I'm like, why
is it rated R?
It didn't seem like it should be. Yeah. But I was, like, so excited. I loved the movie. I loved all the characters. I mean, I was, like, all in because, like I said, I loved the coming of age thing. Yeah. I agree with you that it really brought out that, like the therapy session kind of, like, thing. So I really liked that aspect of it. I thought the characters were great. I loved, like, Molly Ringwald's outfit. I wanted to have that.
Her dancing, her little dancing in the stairwell, like, is good.
I didn't resonate with her as, like, the popular girl so much as I did maybe with the Ali Sheedy Allison character. Yeah. And I thought she, to me, was the person that really... she was in the shadows, but to me, I thought she was the one to be spotlighted because she was the one that I feel like really brought the whole group together in some way. Like in terms of like the confessional part of it.
You're still talking about then though, the first time you saw this.
Yes. See. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Careful, Naomi.
I'm sorry.
Careful.
I'm sorry.
This is why we don't do guests, Christina.
Okay.
It's interesting when you talk about the rating.
But I felt that way about Allison then. Like I just thought like this is the character that's like.
I can't even imagine what the Breakfast Club would be like without that character.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, you know what it is? She provides this common point of attention because no one knows this girl, and she is such a mysterious thing. So they all have something to focus on. There's nothing to do with them,
right?
And she's kind of like this like filter for everyone to join in on something.
And she has no filter. She's like super judgmental.
But what I thought was so great is that she doesn't, and she just kind of says these crazy things, but to her core, she's like good, and she's like, I've never slept with anybody, but I would if I was in love with someone. And here you think she's like this like freakazoid,
right?
But she's really not, and she's really like she says to him. Well, I guess yes.
Yeah, we can jump. Let's jump into now.
All right.
But I just wanted to mention like the ratings. It's interesting because we talk about ratings on the show a lot.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like I was kind of watching it, being like R. But remember, there was only PG then. There was not a PG-13.
Exactly.
So I do think it's a little too racy for PG.
Yeah.
But so they had nowhere else.
Just because
to go
of the content of what they're talking about.
And back then, you were able to go in because you had a guardian.
Right.
And
they didn't check IDs.
You can't do that now.
Yeah.
Like even if I don't think I can bring Emily to an R-rated movie.
Restricted.
That's
right.
It's restricted.
That's right. You're right. It's restricted.
So I think before it was
parental guidance.
Parental guidance or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, I remember just that's all I wanted to say about that. So let's talk about the now.
So let's talk about now. So Christine, we'll start with you. When did you re-watch The Breakfast Club?
I re-watched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it was before the summer, really.
Yeah.
So it was.
Then it was a few months ago.
It wasn't 3 months ago.
Christine, it's September.
Right, 3 weeks ago was still summer. It was the beginning of August.
I think you just said before summer you watched it.
It was.
My God.
It
was during summer. It was during summer.
Oh, it is.
It was during summer.
Okay, sorry.
It was probably like in July.
All right, continue.
Okay, is that all right, Brian?
Oh my God.
How dare you embarrass me in front of our friend? So, it was back then. And I had Emily watch it with me, my daughter, 14. And she, like, begrudgingly wanted to. And I'm like, no, it's a good movie. It's great. Let's just watch it. And Matt really wanted to watch it. So we all sat down as a family and watched it.
Wow.
And I will say, like, I did forget a few parts, like that whole, like, the underwear, that sort of thing, and all the sex talk made it a little bit awkward for Emily. But I was still happy that she watched it anyway.
Yeah.
Because one of the points at the end of the movie, I had asked her, I'm like, do you think that this was kind of realistic? Like, would you talk to your friends like in this way? Like, and just have these kind of conversations? And she's like, yeah, probably. And I thought that was interesting because I didn't know how dated it would be for her.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my rewatch. Definitely looking at a couple of things through a middle-aged lens was a little bit different. I think just as a parent, knowing like the school system the way it is now, it's like, I don't know if that would work the same way now. I don't think the adult would leave the room, for one thing.
Right.
But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like revisiting these characters again, and I forgot how funny Anthony Michael Hall's character was. I mean, he has some of the funniest lines in this movie, and I was just like laughing all over the place. But I really enjoyed it. How about you, Naomi? When was the last time you saw it?
So, I've seen it like I catch it on TV. If it's on, I'll Breakfast Club's on and I'll watch it. And through the years, like I said, I have 5 children, and 3 of them my stepchildren, and the 3 oldest girls like when it was like, oh, okay, I think they can watch this now. We watched it. And still to this day, they will recite lines from the movie and we'll recite lines from the movie back and forth to each other. And it's like kind of like one of our things. And then my 17-year-old, I watched it with her. But when I watched it this time, was with my 14-year-old. So Christina and I both have 14-year-olds. They're, a month and a half apart.
Yeah.
And she had never seen it. So this was so exciting. And actually, my 17-year-old Mallory had walked in and she's like, oh, you're watching The Breakfast Club? And so then she sat down with us and watched it too. And like I said, Jillian had never seen it. And she said to me the other day, she's like, you know what? I think that might be one of my favorite movies now.
Wow.
She loved it. She also said, she's like, I thought that it was going to be different though. She said, I thought that it was going to show them not only like that detention experience, but then when they go back to school, which is an interesting thing to think about.
For
and
sure.
I did when I first saw the movie. I thought about that. Like, well, I wonder how it was when they went back to school.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Is thinking about what happens after. What happens on Monday.
Yeah. But I was, of course, still thrilled watching it this time. They do get a little annoyed with me when I watch the movie because I do basically say the lines, all my favorite lines. I'll say them as they start, and and they're like, oh, can you just please shut up? Can we just watch the movie? So, but it was a great revisit, and it was nice to be able to share that with Jillian. And I did say to her, I go, the interesting thing is this was rated R. And I told them the story of when I went to see it and how, their grandfather was upset that I went to see a rated R movie. And of course, it's like, well, now it probably would be rated PG-13,
Probably,
I agree. Yeah.
So
did you look at it differently knowing that you were going to be discussing it on this podcast?
I definitely did. I definitely was like a little bit more like listening and like trying to, really think about how I feel about it or like things that I would pick out of it, Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I liked my revisit. I did watch this a few weeks ago. I think some things certainly held up better than others.
Sure.
And to your earlier point about school, like I don't have children, but like Bender in particular, I found the hardest sell this time around. I was like, he just told the principal of a school to get his fucking hands off him. He's incredibly disrespectful, and I'm like, I just don't know if we tolerate... I don't know how school is these days, but it's like, if a kid said, get your fucking hands off me, and sure, he shouldn't be touching a student. I know, Christina, I can tell by the look you're giving me that the principal was wrong as well. But I just kept writing my notes, kept group saying, like, wow, Bender has a lot to say.
Yeah. And
I just questioned, because having gone through the high school experience and knowing, a lot of, Naomi and I went to the same high school, and like there's a very big high school. So there were headbangers and everything like that. And like, I just wonder how vocal that personality type is to begin with, and how much sharing these kids would actually do. Case in point, at one point, Brian, who I love, that and you're right, he is so funny, and it was so lost on me the first time.
Agreed. Yes.
He's the one who says, "Sir, why would someone steal a screw?" Or is that Molly Ringwald? Who says that?
Oh, Molly Ringwald says that.
Okay. Yeah. He says something really funny, and I wrote it down. I'll get to it in my notes at some point.
We're talking about the clubs. I remember he was talking about.
Yeah, and he also says, I've laid lots of times.
Yeah.
And he's really funny. But there's one point where he says, in that dramatic scene where they're all sharing, and he goes like, do you guys know what I did to get in here? Do you? And it's like, all right. It's like, first of all, no one asked.
Nobody did.
So it's this sort of like oversharing, like, where I'm like, is it as believable through my middle-aged lens that these kids who have so much disdain for each other, like, I mean, and especially with him, like, no one really cares about this kid. I mean, Claire even says, and we can just open this up.
She
did.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I didn't love it. But it's like, but Claire's like, well, your friends would think it was a compliment if you were associating with us.
Right.
And he's like, God, you're so fucking conceited, Claire.
One of my favorite lines.
I love that. It was great.
He's like, you're so because you're so full of yourself.
You're so like full of yourself, Claire.
Does he say
Why are you like that?
Does he first say conceited?
He does say conceited.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of it. I think Bender. So I think I liked it. I do had some challenges, which are in my notes, like. But it was really nice to revisit, and I forgot how short it was.
Yeah.
In my mind, that we talked about this a million times in this podcast, where movies like this, like they feel so epic in your mind because they mean so much to you, and then you rewatch, you're like, this thing's. What is it? 95
It is.
I think it's 95
yes.
minutes. But what's interesting about that, though, is I think it seems longer because they are essentially in one room
scene.
the whole movie.
Yeah.
And that was certainly not something that I would have watched as a child, as a, a teenager or whatever. I wouldn't have watched a movie based in one room. It wouldn't have held my attention. Yeah. So I think that's probably why it made it feel longer. Yeah. And that was probably interesting for Jillian too. And she's like, I was expecting it to be like, move on to like
right, because you don't really see that. You
don't see that at all.
Yeah, no. I think it almost to me resonates as like a play.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
This would totally be a play.
Totally, it would be so, perfect.
For sure.
So you guys both said you loved, the word is loved, but what didn't necessarily work? Because I have my little things, but like I wanted to know, is there anything like that just maybe on this revisit you didn't?
Well, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, like I said, the makeup, the makeover scene.
I don't like that either.
I don't like that at all.
What don't you like about that?
I don't like the fact that they had to change her.
Right.
Like, there was no reason for her to be changed.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like she comes out and she's this new girl and...
So I sing it from both sides.
Like this whole music, and now all of a sudden he's looking. He's like, "Oh, look at you, pretty now. I can go on a date with her now because she's pretty."
Yeah.
And don't you think by today's standards she looked better, shaggy?
Oh my God,
than made up. Nowadays, like her shaggy look.
She just made her look like her. Like,
right?
It's like, no, we don't need another one of you.
Right.
Allison is way more interesting.
That's the whole point of the movie.
Yes.
Is like your own individuality.
So it felt really odd, and I was like upset. I remember them then, and even now, I'm like, it works even less now. It also, one of the things that kind of was a middle-aged lens, probably more than anything, is watching Allison and some of the conversations, how she's saying how like it's really bad at home, and I felt like that needed to be addressed a little bit more. I was thinking more of like almost like a mental illness kind of situation, or she was being abused at home.
Well, she did say, I think it's Emilio Estevez's character. He says, "What do they do to you?" And she said, "They ignore me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she's just like all on her own. She's just lonely.
Yeah.
She's lonely. She's hidden away in her hair and in everything.
She had nothing else to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, just some of the like him leaving, the whole principal leaving the room seemed unrealistic.
Yeah, that is
to me.
very unrealistic.
The fact that he never came back.
Right.
He never came back.
Yeah.
After he put Bender in that closet.
Right. Well, because he identified Bender as the troublemaker.
Right. So but you would think as a teacher that he would poke his head in every once in a while.
Make sure they're still alive.
You should do that.
Yeah.
And the fact that they felt comfortable knowing that he wasn't going to come back in, to the point where they're getting stoned in the back of the library, they're dancing, there's music.
There's a
At
broken
one point,
glass. Yeah.
Like, they don't even think that he's
they're not gonna find out and be like, okay, well, guess what, you guys are expelled now.
Yeah, and they're blasting music, getting stoned. I mean, it's a bit crazy.
And we know that he is in the basement looking through personnel files, but they don't know this.
Right.
So even if they, even just a little, like we do this all the time, like we change the movies around, even if they, like one of them was looking out the window and saw him drive away.
Yeah.
And he was like, I mean, again, I guess they would leave, but I mean, just knowing that he was gone, then they would be able to relax a little bit more and then be able to,
You could argue and say, like, they were stoned, so they just forgot time.
But they went to get stoned. They went to
get stoned.
And they had to leave and walk over.
Because he was like, are you crazy if the principal walks in here, whatever, because that was when the pot started.
Yeah.
And they, one by one, all went and did it.
Mm-hmm.
That was another thing that rubbed me the wrong way then and now, is like, would Claire be the first to join the pot?
Well, she was into him. That's why.
Is that what you think?
I think that's why she went.
What do you think?
I think he fascinated her.
to go
with Bender. Because Bender was lighting up a joint.
I definitely,
she was the first
think she was intrigued by him.
Yeah, just like,
Was she the first person, or was
forwardness?
Was Allison the first person to go with him?
Allison
doesn't even.
Yeah, because
she never even smokes.
Oh, okay.
But she looks at him, right? Doesn't she? She
looks at Brian. I think Brian looks at her, which is the nerdy character.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, and then he takes off.
Yeah, because Emilio Estevez's character, what's his name?
Andrew.
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 So Andrew, he was just like, no, and then he's like, everybody else left, so he's like,
yeah.
Because he does everything anybody ever tells him to do.
Right. He looks at the Allison character, and she's like, no, don't do it. And then he just gets up, and he takes the sunglasses with him. Yeah. And she doesn't. She just stays, and she doesn't do any of that. But I would agree that that's a little far-fetched.
Yes.
In that there certainly would be a teacher monitor within the room with them, and not just have the door open and he's across the hall.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I thought that was very, very far-fetched.
Yeah.
But going back to the whole makeover thing, interestingly enough, my 17-year-old said the same thing. She was like, I really just do not like that part. I don't like how they had to change her. My thoughts were, I thought that it was nice to see her face, because she was like so hidden and so closed off, and it was like she was opening herself up.
But they could have done that a different way. They could have given her better posture. They could have had her just like walk in with like more confidence without wiping off her face,
doing her whole and pulling her hair back.
And where did she get the stupid white shirt? Like all of a sudden,
she's very
like
Puritan.
White, fluffy, like lacy shirt. Like where the fuck did that come from?
It was underneath all the
Claire's
layers.
doing this to her.
Right.
Like, it would be better if like by the end of the movie, like there's more and more hair off of her face because she's doing it herself.
Subtly.
Right. So she's feeling more comfortable with herself on her own, and not Molly Ringwald like holding her hostage with makeup and.
But I would argue that it didn't seem like it bothered Allison. That it was almost like Allison appreciated because she was like, "Why are you doing this for me?" And "Why are you being nice to me?"
Because you're letting me.
Because you're letting me.
And she's also getting the attention that she doesn't get.
She's
at
getting the attention,
yeah.
And she probably doesn't have a lot of girlfriends.
She does say at one point,
"I like that.
That black shit on my face."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well.
But I think that it was a little bonding experience for her. So I think it benefited her more than it maybe like your feelings that it changed her. Probably wouldn't change her. She probably just felt good to have like somebody tending to her.
I almost feel like it's almost, so I'm feeling like, okay, and I'm thinking about like in high school, like I was not really a frilly girl. I liked my jeans, blah, 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 blah. But then there were always occasions where you had to put like a skirt on or something, right? Like a funeral or something. And I always felt uncomfortable having to change into something that I was not used to. So it almost feels like to me, Allison she would have almost less confidence walking out being completely changed than more confidence. And I almost feel like that was a nice bonding moment, yes, but that could have been just a conversation between the two of them about anything. Yeah. Even her wanting to put makeup on her and her saying, I don't want it, or having a conversation about boys or anything, right? Just one little conversation would have been like a bonding moment, and then having her feeling a little bit more confident based on bonding with somebody. And then walking into the room, still in her shaggy hair and dark makeup, but like just holding herself differently, I think that would have been so much more effective. And having him notice her because of her confidence, not because of her makeup.
Well, I think what bothers me is that it's when this movie feels like a movie. Like, I think the ending, I struggled most on the revisit with the ending, because I'm like, wow, this feels like such a movie right now. First of all, half of them are making out or kissing in front of their parents.
Yeah,
that was normal.
That was another thing that was kind of weird.
That's not a thing.
Right.
That would not have happened.
Or even like Claire gives John Bender her diamond earring. Mm-hmm. And like if I was a parent, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing?
Christina, it's some kind of wonderful thing.
Yes,
it is
exactly.
That thing all over again. It's also John Hughes.
Funny enough, though, that didn't bother me as much because I felt like Claire probably had like a draw-filled.
I mean, I guess, but
that didn't bother me quite as much.
What I didn't like is now the whole movie they're learning all these lessons about how similar they are, right? And yet, at the end of the movie, they all fucking revert back to their things. Like, Claire asking Brian to write that essay is so fucking rude.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that. Also, that essay was not 1,000 words.
It was like 100 and something.
If that, oh, did you?
It was like a paragraph.
Yeah, and it was like not very well written. He's like giving himself a punch in the shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not that good. And then I have to write, seriously, Andy and Allison? Like, they're kissing in front of their parents.
Yeah, but I do love that she stole his patch.
Yes. But how did she rip it off so easily?
Was
it Velcro?
Well, I mean, I guess it was just an iron-on patch, right?
Jeez, she's strong.
I did write specifically, I feel like this, like, it begs for a reaction from Claire's dad in particular. It's just so odd.
Yes. But it wasn't about the parents. Like, you never even see, I mean, you see a little bit of the parents at the very beginning, but you don't really even, there's such a non...
Well, I don't know about that, because in the beginning, Claire does have that conversation with her dad. She's like, I can't believe you can't get me out of this. And the whole, like, now princess.
Well, honey, you shouldn't go shopping.
And so, I just feel like he has a certain, like, view of her. And I'm sorry, kissing someone who looks like John Bender is like, okay, what's going on there, honey?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a little
it just
disrespectful, actually.
It's a little bizarre. Yeah, and that's when it felt like a movie to me. And so, like, you have the makeover, you have the the nerd writing the letter, the narration, you have the all the kissing, these kisses goodbye in front of the parents. And it's like that's when it was like, it's like ending a little too, a little too weird. And you're exactly right, Christina. Like suddenly Andy thinks Allison is what? Worthy of his look?
Right? I mean, did we not learn anything about this conversation?
Have we learned nothing from The Breakfast Club?
Great, now I hate the movie.
We should have warned you about this.
So let's talk. So we started with the ending, which is funny. But one thing as a gay, fag on the locker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Andrew calls Bender a faggot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Bender calls the principal, and I was like, that sounds dubious. So I looked it up. A brownie hound. Which is a gay, I guess apparently was a gay insult, a gay slur.
So I remember that insult from high school, and for me, I never looked it up, the definition, but for me, it was more like a brownie, like a brown nose, like a brown noser.
About the principal.
Yeah, but he was
that insult. I don't know what, I don't know.
So he's looking for people that would
context
brown nose him. I Googled it, and it's like, oh no, it's like,
I'm sure he meant it in a more derogatory way.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I did like, so I mean, that was a little like saying the word fag, and then faggot, and it's all that. It's like, I mean, I was called that pretty regularly in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And even just the lack of diversity in the whole movie.
Well, people a lot of times use that word fag as like jerk.
Oh,
something
absolutely.
like that.
Always.
Or even like, that's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always like a...
And one thing about that beginning, too, with when you see fag and whatever, that is Brian's locker that is all burst into flames, right? It's all burned out and stuff.
Yes.
So that's from the flare gun.
Yes.
And then did you notice...
Bender's locker is the other one, isn't it? The guillotine or whatever comes
exactly.
down and cuts the shoe.
But did you notice the picture of Carl... The janitor is the man of the year in the beginning. I never caught that in all the times I've watched this movie.
I did see that. I don't think I recognized it either at the beginning.
Yeah.
When I watched it before.
I am the eyes and ears of this institution, my friends.
That's a great scene. I love that.
I love
it's like I look through your lockers.
I
do love when Bender says demented and sad, but social. Yeah, that's great. So many great lines in this.
Physics.
Did you notice? I did write down that the principal earns $31,000.
Yes, I wrote that down too.
I wrote that down,
and I laughed.
Yes.
$31,000 and a home.
Yeah, and I have a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I mean, sign of the times.
Yeah.
A salary of $31,000, and he has a house.
Right.
Yeah.
And we had just seen Carl in a previous revisit, Roxanne.
That's right.
He was in Roxanne. Yeah. He was a much different character.
Yes, he was.
One thing I noted was that nobody ratted on Bender at all and all his antics. And they didn't like him at the beginning. They thought he was annoying.
They might have been a bit scared.
That's what I took.
That's what it was?
I think
they just they all piped down, and I don't know. It didn't seem to me like they were necessarily scared, in particular like Allison and Andrew. Mm-hmm. I felt like Allison was just keen into him, but she was trying to be standoffish. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, nobody's ratting on him.
I think they thought they all would have gotten in trouble anyway. So it's almost like, let's just pretend ignorance is bliss.
Right. I mean, the principal is the common enemy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Let's see. Yeah, I struggled with, like, he puts his head between her legs, and then she hits him, but then, like weed comes up, and she's runs off with him. I just don't know. I think it's a weird message, too.
A very weird message. Yeah. Watching it this time, I'm thinking, because I used to totally get it.
Yeah.
But watching it this time, I paid attention to the interactions.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why she liked him. There was no indication that he liked her at all. He was nothing but rude and kind of vile to her.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to turn her on.
I think it was injection.
I do understand. I know what you're saying.
It's like the bad boy.
The bad boy that, like, she doesn't know anybody else like this.
Right.
But it wasn't even like he was being coy or mean to somebody else. Like, he was literally, like, being mean to her and rude and like,
bad
almost
boys.
like sexual harassment.
Badgering her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was
definitely.
clearly uncomfortable.
Well, that is sexual assault, shoving her face into
that. But even before
legs.
that, she's like, he's like asking her about sex, like, very intensely.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, did you slip him the tongue? You know, whatever. I forget the conversation.
Did he slip you the hot beef injection? Yeah.
And
is it going to be a white wedding?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
But the thing about bad boys, Christine, you touched on it very lightly, is that bad boys, to Naomi's point, they are usually mysterious. And Bender never shuts the fuck up.
He doesn't.
No,
he talks nonstop in this movie.
Yeah. He's pretty on spotlight the whole time.
That's true.
He's ready to tell them everything that's bad about his life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and play the victim.
That's when it felt that Bender feels very much a movie creation through my middle age.
Yes.
Certainly not when I'm 13 or 15, you know.
Can we talk about their lunches for a minute?
Oh my God, the lunches.
When they eat lunch?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is like one of my favorite scenes.
Such a good scene.
Because what's so great with the character development is the lunches are even like to the point of who these people are. John Bender doesn't even have a lunch.
Nope.
Right.
He's going to steal everybody. Brian Johnson's lunch.
Yeah.
Brian Johnson has the biggest grocery bag. Oh, no. That's Andrew.
Andrew.
Yeah. But Brian has, like, you know, like he's got the soup.
Perfectly balanced chicken soup or whatever.
Who did your mother marry? Mr. Rogers?
Mrs.
Mr. Rogers?
Yeah,
Mr.
Rogers.
Yeah.
Mr. Johnson.
And then that spurs that. But then Claire... And this is interesting then and now. So Claire had the sushi.
But nobody knew what sushi was.
We didn't know what the hell sushi was. And
Emily, we send sushi
and
to
now,
school.
Yeah, we're like, and like even my daughters were like, wow, like it's sushi. They love sushi.
Yeah.
And like then it's like, you won't accept a guy's tongue in your mouth and you're going to eat that.
Yeah.
All right.
That is
try.
That's a sign of the times. And
Absolutely.
sushi's like so common.
And she's got like this beautiful little like serving tray.
It's like a bento box.
Yeah, bento box. Yeah, and it was like an awe of it.
Everyone was
and then
like, what is that?
And then Andrew Clark's, of course, is in the big, huge bag, and he's got like 7 sandwiches.
Oh my God,
and
so damn
like,
funny.
All that, but then
soda.
Allison's is my favorite because she takes out the sandwich, and I guess it's like bologna, and she whips it onto the sculpture and it sticks. But she's got like, it looks like mayo or something. Then she takes her pixie sticks and she pours that all on. Then she takes her bag of Captain Crunch, pushes it, and then eats the whole thing. And then she's like, she's got her Coke and she's sticking the pixie sticks and like those are straws or something.
So perfect.
And I was like, oh my God.
I loved it so much.
That's one of those things where, again, like through the revisit middle-aged lens, I think that character, Allison, is just the best.
She's the best.
She's really so good in this.
Yeah.
And that's a really great performance.
And did you know that originally he wanted Molly Ringwald to have that role?
Oh, I'm so glad
she was like, I don't want that. I want to play she wanted to play the princess because she was coming off of 16 Candles. Yeah. And he asked Molly Ringwald and he asked
Laura. So for Claire, this is what you're talking about Allison.
So she originally he wanted Molly. Molly Ringwald to play the Allison character, and she did. She said no, I want to play the Claire character, which really wasn't. It was supposed to be Kathy was supposed to be the name, and they changed it to Claire.
Interesting.
So then girl's name.
The original choices for Claire, Laura Dern, Jodie Foster, and Robin Wright. I actually think Robin Wright would have been really interesting.
I think so too. Jodie Foster, I don't think
no.
Laura Dern would be fine.
Laura Dern would have been great too.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, Robin Wright, because she was like really virtually. I know she was in Santa Barbara, I think, at the time.
Beautiful.
Was that before or after Princess Bride?
Princess Bride's 87.
Okay.
So she was just coming off of Santa Barbara.
She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
She is so beautiful.
And she has that sort of mystique, like sort of stony thing about her, which I think that would have been really interesting as Claire.
Yeah. And do you know that Bender, they auditioned John Cusack,
and they just thought he was too likable.
Yeah,
too likable.
Totally
I couldn't imagine him as Bender.
But then John Hughes really kind of wanted to give Judd Nelson the boot because he wouldn't come out of character. And he was harassing everybody in character the whole time.
God, that's so
and
funny.
I was like, that must have been hysterical.
That must have been.
But I could see how it would drive the director crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was pretty much an unknown too. Like that's kind of ballsy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing though, I think I didn't even write it down, but he looked old.
Yeah.
I think out of the
John
five,
Bender. Yeah.
Out of the five, I think Bender, Judd Nelson just looked like. I mean, maybe that makes sense because maybe he stayed back a few times or whatever.
I bought it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, my next note here, and guys, please jump in. I did write. I wrote Weed, the Great Equalizer. I thought that was just so funny how they bonded over like being stoned.
Yeah.
I did absolutely love the line reading. She has many, Ali Sheedy, when she says, "You never know when you may have to jam."
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's got. Oh, he dumps her whole pocketbook. Oh, she dumps her whole
Do
pocketbook.
you guys want to see what's in my bag?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just
I love that
that
the tampons go flying everywhere, and it's like
God.
Like craziness.
And it's the first time she's really even opening up to these people.
Right,
so.
right.
When
She's
you
just
grow
like
up,
inviting them into her bag.
Mm-hmm.
When you grow up, your heart dies. Oh my God.
It's inevitable.
It's so good. It's so good. Andrew, I did. So something that struck me when I was younger so powerfully was when Andrew says, the humiliation. The fucking humiliation.
Yeah.
This time I did laugh.
Yeah.
It was a little theater.
So
a
do you
little
guys
theater.
remember everything they did to get in there? Why they were in Saturday detention?
I remember the butt taping because I was like, just that is so visual. It's like, oh my God, how horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian did the flare gun.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was getting an F and
he's like, I can't do an F.
Yeah,
I can't.
And John Bender says, what am I an idiot because I can't make a lamp? And he's like, no, you're a genius because you can't make a lamp.
Yeah. Without physics, there'd
what?
be no
Without physics, there'd be no light or something.
Something, and then without lamps,
there'd be no light. Physics, there'd be no whatever. Yeah. Okay. So, and what did
He was smoking in the bathroom or something, right?
Who?
Bender?
John? No, he pulled.
A fire alarm.
A
fire alarm.
Yeah.
And then
Claire
ditched school to go to the mall.
Yeah, and then Allison, of course, we said.
Just there. Yeah.
She was just there.
She's just there.
I like when he's like, "What do you need a fake ID for?" And he's like, "So I can vote."
Yeah.
Also, Brian's socks do not match.
Oh my God, I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. That's great.
Yeah, and he's like high waters.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we have a favorite moment, favorite scene, mine is what we just sort of did earlier. It's that answer the question. That will never not be funny to me.
That is hilarious.
She's like, no, I've never done it. And it's like, oh, just when they're all like, they're just all getting
and
up.
then Allison.
But the best part is Allison.
She's like, I've never done it either. I'm not an infomaniac. I'm a pathological liar.
But I would do it.
If I was in love, it's okay.
If I love someone, I would do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She's so good. Everything about her, I love. I love that scene with her and Andrew about, just her yelling at him, saying, "You do everything you ever. Everybody ever tells you to do. That is a problem." And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't open up my bag and invite people into my problems."
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I
I loved Carl, the janitor, going back to him, because I thought he was the one that made the most sense out of everybody. He says,
"Oh yeah,
when I get old, these kids are going to take care of me." And he was like, talking to the principal.
The principal, yeah.
Like, these kids, Vernon says that.
Yeah.
And Carl kind of gives his 2 cents about,
It's like, I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it, Vernon. Yeah. So I thought he was the one that, really kind of knew the kids the best.
Yes.
This Vernon character who teaches them really didn't know them.
Yeah.
Didn't care. I mean, obviously, he wants them to write an essay.
He just wants to reply.
Yeah.
Is it? But I mean, a principal cannot possibly know every single
Vice principal.
Vice.
I think he was vice principal.
Vice principal?
Yeah.
Okay. He cannot know every single student, and it's just not. I mean,
No, but you get the sense that he knows Bender because he's in detention all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going to know
Claire. He's going to know Claire.
He's going to know
Andrew.
Clark because he's Andrew because he's
like the star.
Wrestler.
He's all these sort of things. I can see him not really knowing Allison. Nobody really knew Allison or Brian because Brian's.
And what did she do? She just showed up. She said, "Oh, they're always having a detention on Saturday. I'm just going to come. I'm just going to go."
The parents dropped her off.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she told her parents she had detention for attention.
Oh, maybe.
Good they had to drop her off, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah. The hallway scene was weird to me this time around when they all left. First of all, why did they all leave the room to get his pot? Why didn't he just go?
Right.
But it seemed so weird to me. I'm like, this is a high school? This high school is huge. And you guys went to Brockton High, so maybe it was a little bit more realistic for you. But they're running around. They don't even know where they're going. Do you guys know where you're going when they're running around?
Well, and then it was they took a wrong turn, and the vice principal was coming that way,
and then
they're mad at Bender. Not mad at Bender, mad at Andrew, I think it was, because he told them to go a different way, and they're like, "Why didn't you listen to John and go the other way?" And so then John's like, "I'll take the fall, you guys."
Yeah.
And he stuffs the doobage.
Not everybody.
Yeah. He stuffs
Just
the doobage
me.
in Brian's pants.
We never found out the end of that joke. Does anyone ever? Have we ever?
No.
found
No.
Yeah.
The blonde walks into a bar.
Yeah,
She's got a poodle under one arm.
Yeah.
And a sausage into the other.
She's
She
naked.
put salami
right?
in the other.
Is she naked? When she walks in, I can't remember.
don't think
A
so.
naked blonde, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to. Let's do some research. Maybe we can post it on Patreon.
Yeah, and then he ripped the whole ceiling apart.
I know.
So
And
are they
that
gonna
falls. Yeah.
the smashed glass,
Yeah.
the ceiling, the baloney on
Yeah.
on
Are we
that
also
sculpture.
to believe the smashed glass, or is that just in his high mind that he broke the glass?
Because could that
It
really
does make
happen?
no
He
sense.
can't yell
It
and
doesn't- it
smash
doesn't
the
make
glass.
Really quick, budget for this, $1 million.
Million.
Box office 51 and a half million.
Wow.
That's insane.
That
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
The closet scene was disturbing.
Yeah.
It always
Oh,
has
when she-
been.
Yeah.
That whole point
When
was
he
that
psychs him out with the
when he's
punch.
like,
yeah.
come on, hit me. I just
Yeah.
need it. It was just I think the most disturbing part is Bender's face.
Yeah.
Of Jesus, this guy is really fucked up. This guy is really messed up.
But so interesting, sure. But I think through now that I'm older, I think it was he was not so much this guy's messed up, but I think he was also afraid.
Yeah,
I think
100%
because
afraid.
he's
Sure.
clearly
100%
beaten. He's
afraid.
beaten by his dad at
Yeah.
home.
He
and
picks a fight with
burned.
Andrew, but he doesn't do it. He kind of
it's
is
like, don't make me mad.
don't make
Yes,
me
all
mad,
that
and then he
kind of
pulls the
stuff.
knife
Yeah.
out, and he's like,
And then Allison steals it.
That's great.
Steals the
2
money.
hits, me hitting you, you hitting the floor anytime you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
And there's something else about that.
Yeah, it was a very, very uncomfortable scene.
Yeah. One thing that still doesn't quite click into place for me is the offense people feel. Because I remember watching this when I was younger, and I don't think Bender's take on Brian's family life is that offensive enough to gain sympathy from the others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like, I love you, dear. I love you. Isn't life grand? And all that. And like, suddenly,
I think because he goes and he like punches.
But Andrew Clark is sort of changing his tune way before the punch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's interesting he finds sympathy in that. I mean, I didn't think it was all that nasty until the punch.
Well, I didn't think it was all that nasty either, but what got me was looking at Brian, and Brian was clearly
it affected him. It really affected him.
And that's when Claire looked at him, and then she was like, all right, I'm not going to laugh anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that I felt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I felt. In fact, I feel like going back to that conversation when he was talking about, the locker, and like, he was like, upset. Like, do you want to hear? Yeah. Do you want to hear how? I didn't. Yeah. I think.
Do you? Yeah.
I think the reason why, and you said no one asked him.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they were talking about how, like, perfect. Like, he's like the parents' wet dream and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, I'm not." Yeah. Like, and I think that's kind of put him over the edge.
Yeah. So
I love his his performance. To me, I thought was one of the better ones. Him and. Ally Sheedy.
Yeah.
I felt like he was like comic relief, but also you got like how upset he was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you,
he was very real.
I was 50 years old when I realized the thing about Niagara Falls and Claire and the whole thing. I also thought he meant that he had sex with Claire when I was younger. And I'm like, why would he lie when Claire's right there? I only realized this on my rewatch a few weeks ago, that he meant he didn't want to say he was a virgin in front of Claire.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was that he...
It was like, oh, he hooked up with Claire.
Yeah, hooked up
but
with
it's not
Claire.
what he means at all.
Right.
But
that's how John Bender presented it.
Yeah.
But he
like,
was, he was trying to make it seem like...
And then he said,
like
no, I just didn't want Claire to know I was a virgin. And then she's like, oh, I think it's okay for a guy to be a virgin. Then you find out that Claire's a virgin.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but I didn't realize that until my last rewatch.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you catch that in an earlier?
I kind of knew that already. I'm a little smarter than you.
And what I thought was interesting, going back
to
wiser.
Going back to the virgin thing, because of your story with your boyfriend, that seemed to be like a real thing for all of them.
Yes.
You don't remember high school? That was always it was always who was a virgin, who had sex, and oh my God.
I don't remember it being that big of a deal.
Really?
Maybe it was different with boys.
Don't. Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because that was always something like, oh yeah, and it's like even like from like fingering, all this kind of. That's how guys always talk.
Yeah, but like it's ridiculous how they want to know so badly, like who's a virgin, who's not a virgin.
And in fact, I almost feel like it was a little bit on the opposite end for girls, at least for me and my group. Like, you didn't want to be that girl that had sex. Like, you just didn't. Because then you were like the slut, easy, whatever.
Right.
Like, you did
not
double
want standard
people to think you were having sex.
Right. Yeah. But I thought that was interesting. That it was like just all about this. Like,
yeah, it was all about that.
Trying to get it out of people and.
Several times.
Yeah.
It's a double, as Naomi used to always, it's a double-edged, what did you used to think the line was? Double-edged
sword.
It was like, double-edged sword.
And it was like, oh yeah.
Believe it or not, I don't have too many other notes.
I don't think I do either.
I have a few little like trivia things.
Go for it, Naomi.
So the school that they filmed in was it Sherman?
Sorry, my chair is so squeaky.
What's it called? Sherman High School.
Okay. Well, you're on your own in this one, girl. I don't know these things.
In Illinois, but anyway, that school in 2015, they found the first draft of the script in a cabinet. Like someone was cleaning out stuff for a new building.
Cool.
Imagine that.
Yeah. That is the coolest thing.
So I guess they filmed it during like a renovation time.
Mm-hmm.
And they must have tucked that original script away somewhere.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
And then you know how the poster of the movie, it shows them all. That. You know this because you're Mark But you're marketing, so do you know the trivia point to it?
No.
So the shot of the 5 characters gazing into the camera now has influenced the way teen movies are marketed.
Totally.
So they've used that over and over again.
But I also think, is that the one where Annie Leibovitz did that?
Yeah, I believe
that's wild to me. Annie Leibovitz did
Annie Leibovitz.
that shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see.
So I have a question for you guys. Who do you relate to most? Out of all of them, back then and now, if it's different.
So really quick before we get to that, because it does tie into that. I don't think they are all bits of everyone. Mm-hmm. I don't think John Bender has like a bit of Claire.
But he does, because he's one of the popular kids at school, and he has that social.
Oh, geez, you were ready for this conversation.
No, I'm just
right.
thinking because they connected on that level. They're like, well, yeah, we would be embarrassed if you came running up to me in class on Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, where Allison and
it.
Brian wouldn't be. They'd be like, oh, this is cool. They're talking
they have
to
something
me.
in common.
So they're like outcasts together.
Yeah. How is Brian like Bender?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to give it some thought.
It wasn't quite as seamless as the letter would make it sound, as the essay that he called it would make it sound. So that was a little bit of a thing. But I guess in terms of who we related to, this through my middle-aged lens, I think like I wasn't all that smart, but I guess I would say I related to Brian looking back on my high school experience.
Mm-hmm. So that's high school. Okay, that's good. Okay.
That's I think
I was thinking
I
about
wasn't
now.
as smart as him, certainly not. But I think although I was definitely more outgoing, but I don't think I was like. Yeah, I think I felt kind of insular and had my own little course.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Much.
Right.
Yeah. How about you?
I think I would say Allison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially in high school. I had little like friends everywhere. I was never a loner, but I didn't really fall into any of those other cliques. Like I was, I smoked pot every once in a while, but then, I got good grades.
Mm-hmm.
I was never an athlete,
mm-hmm.
but, I kind of had friends in all those different circles, but for the most part, I did my own little thing.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I would say same. But, other than I wasn't like, I wasn't like the wallflower and just like in the shadows because I was in theater and like you, Brian, I was, I think, more outgoing. But I wasn't like necessarily, with all the popular kids or whatever. I knew some of them, but I, maybe hung out here and there. But I was just like kind of all over the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We broke the mold.
We did.
Basically.
So the big question, more, less, or about the same upon rewatch? Well, Christine, we'll start with you.
I would say a little less.
Why?
Only because there's some things just don't ring true. As far as like the school setting and things like that. I still think a lot of it held up.
Yeah.
I think the conversations held up.
Yeah.
And especially in this day and age, like obviously everyone's like on their phones and things like that. Like I'm assuming in detention they would take your phones and they would be forced to talk. So it would be interesting to see like a real life scenario of kids like all of a sudden not having their phone and having to talk to each other. Like that would be interesting.
Yeah, could they even do it?
I don't even know if they would be able to do it. But but I just felt like a couple of the things, like how did she get into the closet? Like how did Claire get into the closet?
Yeah,
how did she?
How did she
know to like?
How did she know he was in the closet?
How did she know? Yeah, he might have said it maybe when they were talking. Maybe I'll give her that. But how did she know that Vernon wasn't right outside the door, or that the door wasn't open, or like all of that stuff was weird to me. How'd she get in? It was locked.
Yeah.
And did she lock herself in by accident when she closed the door?
And how did she get out? Yeah, it's like a lot.
That's
like,
when it's a movie. Like that's like the movie moments that I wasn't crazy about upon rewatch.
So
Naomi, how about you?
I couldn't really relax because of that.
I would say it's probably about the same, and only for the nostalgic part of it, and for the like seeing it through my children's eyes part of it, and like just that sort of like how, like I said, we always say the lines to each other, and like that's become a part of our rhetoric a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So I think that it'll just always kind of be the same for me. But to Christina's point, there are things that through the middle-aged lens, you're like, yeah, I
don't think that worked.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But I'm going to leave that.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll do that when these revisits.
Because
too. It's like, you know what,
I
I like this movie too much.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Exactly.
I forgive you.
Yeah.
What about you, Brian?
I'm really torn. I think it's probably about the same. Because I think upon rewatch, I was just so disappointed in the ending because it felt like such a movie. When we talked about this with Some Kind of Wonderful, where I kept thinking about that movie because it's in 1985. It's like one of the first movies that really took like teenagers seriously and let them speak. And it wasn't all about the prom or like some big party they had to go to. It was like letting them talk about their feelings. So I appreciated that so much. So I think I'm going to say about the same. I think the acting is pretty strong throughout. There are things I didn't appreciate younger that I appreciate more now. But I think the ending, that's what I'm torn about. Because the ending I don't think is very, very good. So, but I think it's about the same for me.
One more trivia thing that I forgot. So, because you're talking about the ending, which was also in the beginning when they get dropped off by parents and stuff. So Brian Johnson's
mother,
or Anthony Michael Hall, his mother and sister actually played his mother and sister in the movie.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun!
And she's familiar.
Funny.
She looked familiar.
She's
too.
like one line.
Yeah.
And well, Mister, you better figure out how to study. You better figure out a way to study.
Yeah.
While you're in there.
Figure it out.
He's great.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
They were great.
So I do want to mention, before we do our questions, that we have a very exciting Patreon post this week.
Yeah.
We have reenacted a pivotal scene in The Breakfast Club, the three of us. And it's much like the
Showgirls.
the Showgirls scene that we reenacted, but Naomi is involved now. So
yay!
So
Naomi, there's some confusion. Naomi, put your top back on. We're not. This is not the Showgirls.
Not Showgirls.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Or should we call you Nomi?
Good, Christina. Wow.
So if you want to listen to this hilarious script, it's patreon.com/oldroommates. So,
all right. So I have two match games, you guys.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm really not sure which one's the better one.
I'm really nervous about the match games.
You should be, Naomi.
You have to match.
It's a tradition.
Like if I don't
we will
match,
just trash this entire episode.
I think I'm going to choke.
All right. I don't even know what I have for.
I feel like, because I know, Christina, you don't. I feel like you're going to be like, that's so obvious, Brian. So I'm not. So I changed.
Yeah, because I speak exactly like that, Brian.
So I changed at the last minute. I think this one's maybe less obvious.
Okay.
All right. Well.
Oh, God.
It seems Brian's flare gun suicide attempt wasn't his first miscalculation.
Oh, no.
Yep. Well, folks, he once tried to slash his wrists with a blank knife.
That's so obvious.
Oh.
Brian's obvious.
Is that super obvious?
Okay.
I don't know. All right. Well, Brian's flare gun suicide attempt was not his first. He, at one point, tried to slash his wrists with a blank knife. Christina?
A butter knife.
All right. Naomi?
A butter knife.
Brian? A butter knife!
Yay!
All right, can I read my other one really quick?
Sure.
Okay, before we get to Christina's. Okay. Tell me if this one was more... Let's try this one, too. It's really quick. Allison's art is really quirky. Not only does she use dandruff for snow, she uses blank for the trees. Is that one too easy too? Naomi started writing immediately. For someone who's nervous, you wrote right away.
I'm just gonna write this. I don't think this is gonna be an match, but.
All right.
Ding.
Christina, ding ding.
Dirt.
Okay, Naomi.
Boogers.
Boogers!
Oh my gosh. You two are really something.
We went to Brockton.
You did. Brockton High.
All right, Christina,
Central.
let's hear your match game.
Okay, so mine also has to do with Allison.
I actually thought you were going to do MFK, actually, and use the three guys. That could have been interesting.
No.
None of them are legal.
Wouldn't you wish? Wouldn't you love
Christina,
that?
stop it. All right, what do you got?
So Allison, fast forward 20 years down the line, Allison actually became quite a successful artist.
Oh.
Yeah.
And her shtick was using unconventional items.
Like boogers.
Much like the boogers or the dandruff.
Dandruff.
Her most successful painting was the dog park, and it was covered in blank.
That's pretty obvious.
Naomi thinks it's obvious.
Well, I know, but it's too obvious.
Well,
Sometimes
I have
it's
been
obvious.
criticized before, that last season, if you will, about being too complicated and my
Okay, well, I put one down.
creative,
Ding.
if you will.
I'm
So
just
I've
gonna-
decided to go very basic so Brian can finally match.
Okay.
All right, so her most successful painting was the dog park, and it was covered in
Dog shit.
dog shit.
Naomi.
Fur.
Oh!
Shit.
Yay!
I was going to put shit, but I said no.
Naomi,
Oh my
That's
gosh.
too obvious.
we have a little something for you for being a guest.
Oh my gosh, and we need to tell people about it too.
Yeah.
What is it?
An original, hot off the press, coveted old roommates sticker.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's a sticker, and
we are so happy that you came and did this.
there's
visited
something
us.
else you
But
get.
I will say,
Oh.
go ahead.
There's something else.
What?
You get our thanks.
Ah,
Thank you for
that's
being
even
our
more valuable
guest
than
and
the
our
sticker.
big
Oh my
secret.
I do want to
God.
say,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
yeah.
mention the stickers. So these stickers
Yeah.
are great.
They're
They are right
awesome.
up. They're hot off the press.
Yeah.
They are 3-inch round vinyl stickers.
Christina
It says-
designed them.
They're awesome.
I did
I love
design it. Yes. And it's really, really cute. It shows two people diving into shallow waters.
Can you
It's a
guys see
shallow
it?
dives only. Naomi is holding it up for those of you who want to look at it. But my point is, if anybody is interested in this sticker, you can have it for free.
Yeah.
Just send us an email to let us know that you'd like it. So
Old-
it's at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. Just
Yeah.
let us know you'd like a sticker.
We'll happily
And
send you one.
We're happy to send it. They're really, really cute.
We have a
and we're
ton.
happy.
Christina, hats off to you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
nice job,
It's
Christina.
so dang cute.
It is very
It is so
cute.
cute.
I know where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put it right under the toilet bowl.
You little...
I'm
I
kidding.
thought you were going to say you were going to put it
God.
like on your locker
I'm
at
going to
school.
put it on my forehead.
Nice.
Yes.
Wear it around.
Good. I have mine. See, this is why
Um,
I had to shield my water bottle.
Oh, okay.
this whole
I
thing
was
is on my water bottle. But it's
Yeah.
really, really cute. So
very
send us an
cute.
email if you want one.
Yep, me and Christina are diving into shallow waters as we often do.
Good. Well,
All right.
I'd like to say thank you
Oh,
for
yes.
finally having me, and now we can continue our friendship, and you're invited back to my house.
It's been an awkward 3 years.
Before we leave, we just have a few callers that we want to take.
Ah!
Right? This is
This
the caller.
isn't live.
Oh,
So close, so close.
Naomi,
And welcome back,
Naomi,
Brian.
you're a treasure.
Welcome back.
And
I missed you.
listen, everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you enjoyed your summer. And we're back, and
We are back.
get ready for a whole bunch of more episodes as we go.
Yes.
yay!
And that's it for us in this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And please give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you're interested in more Old Roommates, including special episodes, bonus content, movie recommendations, and more, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/oldroommates. Comments and ideas can be emailed to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Old Roommates.
Thanks again for listening. This is Christina.
And this is Brian. Until next time.